Well, hey everyone, time for Geocache Talk. Whether you're at work, in the car, wherever you are, we hope you enjoy the show. Please give it a like and subscribe, listen on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, Radio Public, and Spotify. You get all the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. Big thanks to the Travel Bugs for the music and our featured patrons, Cazelli, Dragon, Gunter Hunters, Acme Wildcachers, P0001, ADK Sarah, Eastern Girls, KC, Billy Robson, Fox and the Hound, TX Wolf Totem, K Blast, Statuki, Hockey Zombie, Ship to Shore, and our new patrons. You're going to like these, Jesse. Little Black Dog. That's a cool.
Love it.
And then we have a new one from Ireland. His name is Alan. I don't have a GC name yet, but we'll get that later. But anyway, if you'd like to become a patron, head on over to patreon.com/geocache talk for more details. Patrons get the new blackout coins. And here's the blackout coin, in case people are like, what? Yeah, I don't want to show it every week, but still, we get new people all the time. Every week we got to show it because it's a blackout. Right. It's our cool coin. So, all right. Get that. You get other geocaching items during the year, as well as bonus content. We've got some been adding bonus content out on Patreon, and we got some cool stuff coming up. In the near future. Very excited. We'll talk about some of that here in a moment. Invites to special events only for patrons. Support level start at as little as $3 a month. That's the Bison Tube level. $5 a month is the Lock and Lock level, and the $8 level is Ammo Can. And if you want to go above 8, you can. We got a couple of those. That's the Golden Ammo Can level. So special stuff. And each level we're starting to do a little bit different for each one. So, all right. Well, let me welcome my co-host, Jesse.
Good evening.
Let's jump right into show 130, December 23rd or 24th.
Depending on where you are, that's right.
Depending on where you are, as we welcome to the show, John Korsgat. Welcome to the Geocache Talk.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah. And Merry Christmas, I could say, over here.
Yes. Now, funny thing is, John is from Norway, but where are you tonight?
Oh, I'm in Hamburg in Germany.
Germany. See, so that's awesome. And John's been a patron for a while now, so we really thank you for your patronage. We've got I think we've figured out there we have a lot of listeners in Norway. Thank you Norway. Welcome everyone to the show. But we figured out that we've got Thomas is a patron. Tom Frey and Hinlin. I don't get this right. His wife. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. And then Casamaya and Stola.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That's pretty close. Casamaya. I love that one. So they're our Norwegian patrons. So all right. Well, let's jump in. I don't really, like I said, we don't really have a lot of news. We're going to really get into the meat of this show pretty quick. The survey, I think, is still out there. The geocaching survey. We're going to be talking about that in a couple weeks.
I still haven't seen it. You won't let me look at it so we can do it.
I will not let you. No, I will not let you.
It's been hard too because there are other shows have been talking about it, so I'm getting behind on my podcast, and I can't do anything because I don't want to cheat and see the survey before we do it.
Yeah, we don't want you doing that. It'll be interesting. That'll be fun to talk about cache quality. So,
but this is our last live show of 2018.
Yeah, we're taking a break next week, and so we won't be back till I think 1/6. So January 6th will be our next show. So
give everybody time to spend time with their family and all that other stuff. So
yeah, we might put out some bonus stuff for the patrons, but we're not really going to do anything We're going to take a break. So just FYI for everybody. But 2019 is shaping up to be a huge year for us.
Lots of big stuff coming up.
Oh my gosh. I've already got some incredible shows lined up. I mean, people that are good. All our shows I think we've had a lot of good quality podcasts, but people that have never been on before, I don't think they've ever been on a podcast before, but just have great stories. We're going to have continue to provide great content, and I think that's the main thing that we really focus on is to get you quality guests doing quality shows, and so we really appreciate everybody who helps us do that. So we're looking forward to a lot of cool other things we're doing. Additional books. I've got some people sending me
every aspect of the network. We've got something big coming out next year.
Yeah.
Vlog, books, games.
Yep.
What else do we have coming out?
Yeah.
Probably do another stash hunt. I'm saying.
Yeah, probably do another.
No details on that yet, of course, but that's for another show. Those are things for future shows, right?
There you go. Perfect. Yeah.
Lot of behind the scenes patron stuff that we're going to try to connect with everybody. So that'll be good. Yes. All kinds of stuff that we can't really say yet because we got to still work on it.
Yeah, but we've got a lot of stuff in the works, so that's good. So, all right. Well, we're going to get into a fascinating app that I think I've heard about for about a year, but didn't really get into it. And then John contacted me and says, hey, let's do a show about Cachetur, and I thought that's perfect. Let's get into cachetur.no. So if you're playing along at home, it's cachetur.no because it's in Norway, where the website is cachetur.no. And so John Korsgat's with us. He's going to talk about it. And John, before we get into that, something we mentioned before the show, but you have been sort of involved using it almost from the beginning, right?
Yeah. It wasn't many days before I started to use the website, and have been along with the deployment and the work of that Tomford does with the site at all.
Yeah. So interesting. Thomas, we talked about earlier. Is Thomas the one that started it? Is that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He got the idea, and he's the only one who's actually working on the code behind it as well.
Oh, okay.
All of us others are either support or talking about it and doing radio shows and things to promote the website. But he's the one who's doing all the work behind it.
Okay, great. And we also have in our chat room tonight, we have Carl, cjhove.no is his name. So Carl, thanks for being in the chat room. He does a lot of the help files. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's pretty much in charge of the help center we got, and he's the one that's doing a whole lot of blog series about how to create a trip right now, because he's actually trying to use that part to show, okay, here is what you can do with the Cachetur while you're trying to make yourself a nice trip.
Right. Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So we've got a lot of play, and then we have different people. Butterfly Girl, she's used it. I know a lot of people. We have different levels. I think we have people who have actually used it, like Valena has for some of her trips. We have some people who never heard of it till tonight. So it's going to be fun to go through this, and so we're just going to get right into it. So. We're going to kind of start with Jesse's got an account sort of set up, and and we're going to kind of talk through some of it. John's going to kind of we're going to talk through some of it, and then we'll kind of get more into how different things you can, some of the tools,
some of the possibilities.
Yeah, we'll get into the possibilities in a little while with John, but let's start with that. So, Jesse, do you want to share your screen, and then John, if you would we'll kind of walk through part of that, and that'll kind of get us kicked off. So there's the screen, and I'm going to kind of watch the chat room for a little bit for questions, and so I'm going to let you two kind of go back and forth and talk about some of that, because Jesse, you've got a little experience, or at least you've set up some stuff.
I've really when you're starting the account, you have to have a username, of course, username and email. Then send you some authentication.
Yeah.
Email. That was hard. Authentication email, and then you get signed up. So right here you can see I've got Memphis Mafia in here, and then you authorize it through geocaching.com as well, and that's pretty much, other than just starting the name of a trip. So you see Geo Woodstock 2019. Other than that, that's about all I know about it so far.
Yeah, you have started, and that's better than a whole lot of other people
there you go.
haven't go. So yeah, that's nice. But what I need to, or when I try to make a trip, I always find out what are my goals for the trip. What is it I'm supposed to get, and then start to pick my caches for that part of it. Usually, cool. I always have both geocaching.com and projectgc.com as my helping friends for choosing the
that's yeah, and that makes sense too. That to have
because
obviously
because,
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, because cachetur.no does not have any single information unless you give it to it. So you have to choose from which caches you want. I am a PC user. I work on a computer with Google Chrome as my browser, and for that I have also just using the best thing to do to get my my caches into is the cachetur assistant, and which I know I know it has a problem with Safari on the Mac OS, but it works if you're using Google Chrome. And that one is really a nice thing to have, because that can help a lot of the planning along the road while you get it.
Yeah, I've heard about Cachetur Assistant. That was mentioned on the Gearhead show. So let people know it's a really good companion. It's like a companion tool. Is that a way to put it? Or
it's on a little program that lays on top of the layers of geocaching.com or at Project GC. I can just log into when you start Cachetur. You get let's just see if I can share this one.
Okay, let me switch over, Jesse. I'm gonna switch over and let's pull up John's screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just leave yours where it is if you want, or either way.
Yeah.
So John, we're gonna watch your screen now for a while. Go ahead.
Yeah, because you start to log in, and if you don't have made an account yet, you have to do that before by register. I can always choose different languages. We have English, we have all the Scandinavian, we have some German, we have French here, and we have Czech Republic as well. So I just log into with my account.
Okay.
and I'll choose the English version. Just be
Thank you,
to see
sir.
that. And the one thing that I always recommend first when you have the possibility is to go inside scripts and macros.
Yes, scripts
Okay.
and
Down
macros
there.
first.
Yeah, tools, scripts, and macros. And when you go in here, you have I know the bookmarklet are for browsers in Mac OS, but here is the cachetur assistant.
Gotcha.
You have to have Tamper Monkey as installed on the computer before first, and then you just download this script in order to run it. Yeah.
Right. If you go there though, John, it'll tell you what link or what snap-in you have to have. You have to have the Terra Monkey.
Yeah, Temper Monkey. It says here that you need to have them, and then you just download the cachetur assistant.
Cool.
And that is whenever if I know just go inside my geocaching account,
right,
onto my map. Oh, come on. And here now it has a little thing that says I can add my caches into cachetur.
Nice.
Right up there at the top. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I now go here and choose a date here, and I can refresh and adjust the route map to the route. Here you can see now.
Oh wow!
You have a small purple line. This is my driving route for this day.
For this, okay. For that for that tour, if you want to call it that. That's your your route.
I can I can now go down, and it can help me see which caches are close to my route.
Driving, right.
Yeah.
So in that case, you started with a route.
And that is why whenever I do make a trip, I start with to create a new trip.
Right.
I always you have to make some points. If you this is the part where you can choose the hiking trip or the bike trip or the car trip. That is how the routing is going to be.
Right.
Because if you choose a hiking trip, it will count as if you're walking. And the time will do as well. So
because that's the thing I think. Because one of the things we want to do tonight, one of the goals is not just to talk about all. We're going to talk about the pieces of this thing, but we want to convey to people that you want to have this for why would they want to use this? And one of them that we talked about before the show that we're going to talk about, during the show is, it will help you plan your ETAs. How much time it's so like if you're going to go from wherever you live to, you're going to the family, you're going to the in-laws house, and you want to look at it and go, well, how long would it take me to get there if I stopped and did all these caches? And it will tell you can get an ETA going on that. So
of course, if I know now when I do this trip, I can just put the right date here. But since I do not know, I can make this as a draft for my trip, so it won't end, because once this the date is passed, I can't really do anything about the trip anymore. But as long as it is a draft, I can keep on working on it and then set the date when I want to travel.
Okay, cool.
And also I can choose if I will make a public trip that will make it visible to everybody who uses Cachetur, or if I will make it private. And I usually use it private because I can invite people to my trip if I want to.
Yeah, so, one thing too, John, what was mentioned in the chat room is that the donut tour over here in Cincinnati, when we had Gigastock, the donut trail is a series of caches at the donut shops, and it's a geotour. There's geotours all over the world. So I think that that is one that's in Cachetur even today. That's been made public, and I think that's cool that there's some of the tours are in there pre-built. Well, somebody built them.
Somebody have built them, and that's it's one of the things we need to do to get people to do, show off what are the possibilities we have to go and take a nice trip. We have some geotours in Denmark, which we also have, which I had good use of when planning my own trip in Denmark earlier this year.
Cool.
So you just have to explore it. Those are during the trip templates you have here.
Okay.
Right beside trips, you have tips and trip templates.
Right.
And here you can just try to see see what's in. You can filter by
there's the Butler County one. Yep.
Yeah, it comes up, and if you click on it, you will get to see all the caches made there, put inside this one, and it has a route as well.
Okay, cool.
As you know, it's you can choose which kind of map you want.
Right.
So there you have a suggestion on which way to do this one.
So let me ask you about this, John. So in this case, this is a good example. So you keep that up for a moment, if you would, sir.
Yeah.
So that one, that's an example of here. That one, if you think about it, the geotour, in a sense, you already know what caches you want to find, because the caches that you want to find are provided. They're the geotour. So in that case, the trip was built after you had the caches, but there might be times when you do the opposite. You have a route already. You're going from point A to point B, and you want to add the caches, sort of like the cache along a route thing. So you can kind of do it either direction. If you already know where if you have a list of, we talked about this before the show, Jesse has, he might have a series of caches he wants to find for a challenge. He would have a list of caches, and then he wants to build the route after he has the caches in mind. But you can do the opposite too, which is, hey, I'm going to the coast, or whatever, and therefore I want to build what caches can I find along the way, kind of thing. So
you can either when you have a trip template like this one, you can either create a new trip with it and get your own trip, and then you can modify that one into whatever you want to do, or you can just copy some of the waypoints into an already existing trip if you want that part.
Right.
So you can start. This is a suggestion, and you can work with this one. This could just help you if you know you're going to do it.
Right.
I'm now going back to my dashboard and see.
Sorry to be the.
Yeah, that's okay.
Get distracted. I thought that was fascinating, because that's one thing we want people to realize is it can be used either way. You don't have to just have it be in one direction, kind of thing.
Yeah. Here's the trip I just started, and of course I could now try to just get myself a route. So I want to edit my trip info and just if I know some GC codes, I could just start typing them in right here.
Cool.
If I have several of them, I could add a list of GC codes and make them go inside.
Right.
Just separated by either a space or semicolon or comma. But I also have my add saved place here, because I have two places I usually go.
Okay.
And this is the fastest way to get myself a route. I do back at my place and to my mother's place, and that's quite a distance. So I know now that this is going to give me a route that I can follow. To create a new route calculation, I have to do it with this point here. It will make a route, but it may take a while. This now takes less than 10 minutes. It's usually depends on how much the server has to do and all that. But it's give me a warning here that says that the calculation of test is completed. So I just reload there and see here I got myself a route through from Trondheim, where I live, to Oslo, where my mother lives.
Okay.
And now I have the possibility to add caches if I go inside to geocaching.com and go and I have to refresh because I made that trip after I was inside there. Find my test trip, and there I have the route I can choose from.
Okay.
Right now I can go inside and see, okay, where are the caches that I might have fun to do. But of course, this is just the way you can get every tour planning as well. But if you just instead use this Project GC.
Yeah, we love Project GC.
Oh yeah, use that a few times.
I use it all the time. I now go to my top favorites.
Okay.
And choosing from myself, just as and I know that I will pass through
certain towns, right?
So certain places, and I see, okay, let's just see there, create myself a map of the 100 most
favorited. So that's a good way to. A lot of people do that. A lot of people are like, well, I'm going on this trip. I don't know anything about the caches along this area, but I do. It's like if I want to stop and do a cache, let's make it maybe a favorited one because it would be better quality. We're back to quality, Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
And now we can see, okay, here are a few of the caches, and some of them are along my route.
Right.
So if I try to just go inside and see, okay, here are some that are 92%. That would probably be a good one, except it's 4/5. Okay, it might be
difficulty.
Not something. Difficulty 4, terrain 5. It might not be the one if I'm going to have a fast trip. But if this is a trip that I'm planning just for having the experience and the fun of it, that might be something I can take into my trip.
That's like up Jesse's alley. Jesse would want to do something like that because he doesn't care.
It's a 4/5 where I go. That's awesome.
Yeah,
he's going to stop for that. He doesn't care how long it takes because knowing Jesse, he's going to take a trip like that. He doesn't care about hotels, food.
No, you sleep in the car. You don't need a hotel.
Yeah, of course. We sleep in the car. That's the way we're doing it.
So
if I know what to add this one.
Could you show how you add, just real simply, how you would add that to your cache tour?
Yeah. To make it the most simple one, I go back into my test trip before, and I make a small dotted line here. That is the insertion point. I want my caches that I want now to be placed between these two.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, you make your sort of your start point
Yeah.
and the end of the trip point.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And then if you see here, it's just a small little icon. It's the
Oh,
2 feet.
okay.
Yeah.
I
So
see
just
it.
click.
It's the 2 feet of the
Yeah.
cachetur thing. Okay,
Yeah.
very
Nice.
Because
cool.
I add this one here, and right now I can just also say try this one. That's a comment.
Right.
For
Okay,
it.
cool.
And
That's much simpler. I was
if I
thinking you have to
want,
cut and paste the name.
oh,
You're gonna cut and paste the GC code or something. It's like, no,
this
no,
is
just use
this,
it's right there. Just click on it.
I could go back here. I can refresh
Yeah,
my
it's there
trip.
now. Right
Yeah,
now it's there. Cool.
yeah,
Nice.
and my comment got inside here
Oh yeah.
as well.
So you could
So
I
make
like it.
yourself a little. So you can make yourself a little comment like, I need a. This one's gonna need
Your ladder.
a tot. Yeah, it's gonna need
Yeah.
a tool of the trade or something. So
yeah,
that way you would know. Okay, I get an idea of what I need, what, when, kind of thing.
yeah. And if I say, okay, I want this one as well. It's a large one. Okay, I want this one, and I'm sure I want it. I think it's a P1. That's the top priority.
Oh, I
Mhm.
got you. So you could do a P1, a P2, or P3.
Yeah, along
Cool.
with a
Okay.
comment. Yeah,
Yeah, I just want to mention it because people are listening and are not
yeah,
watching too. I want to
yeah.
keep them engaged in all this as well. So
So
very cool.
yeah,
So like
if
when I refresh it, and it should show up in there.
yeah, it says, and it now got the priority already set up because it's a large one. I always go for the large ones, and
Mhm.
then okay, it's fine.
Now, what's funny is that I can see at the bottom that it's also tallying up points for the
Yeah,
On the
the,
souvenir campaign
the
right now.
souvenir. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
and it gets points for every campaign Groundspeak
geocaching.com.
are yeah
Right.
are,
Right.
And then
are
below that, it's keeping the distance going up. So
yeah
it's 176.9 kilometers right now.
yeah
Driving
and
times calculated,
Oh,
elevation gain. There's a
yeah.
toll road. How it's got all kinds of information on there.
Yeah, and it says also that this will take 9 hours with the stop. And if you go back up here and see
oh yeah.
into the information of the
Right.
how this one is black, so that's what it here says. This one is calculated to take me 2 hours and 29 minutes in order to
Oh,
complete it.
okay.
Because okay, it has dangerous
Yeah.
areas, it has UV light, it has
Oh wow!
climbing gear, yeah, and it
Right.
has abandoned structure. So this one is taking quite the time.
Well, that's a where I go, John. I would just skip over that thing. I wouldn't worry
Oh,
about that for.
Not everybody can handle those.
oh. And
That's
if
funny.
you just
That's
see the other one, it's just calculated to take only 4 hours, 4
oh, see,
minutes.
there you go. See, much better trip, right, Jesse? Much better trip.
Yeah, come on.
No,
It's
but
not
what's
even a
cool?
challenge if not.
I know, but what's cool
Yeah.
about that is the fact that you now know, like, if you want to add, in this case, you've got to do that where I go. Oh my gosh, right, Jesse, you got to do it.
Have to do it.
So now you can plan for, okay, now
Yeah.
I know how long it's going to take me to get
Yeah.
to because that's the thing that I think people don't realize is that you could do caching along a route, but you don't have any idea how long it's going to take you to do those.
No, but if you don't, then just click on the first waypoint. You have here the possibility to say the ETA override. This is where you can start your trip. If you say, okay, I'm going to start this one at
Okay.
8 a.m.
Oh, okay, right. Oh, time wise, yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
I'm following you. Okay.
Yeah, and I now refresh my trip.
Right.
It now says, okay, it hasn't done the routing yet, because it would have been, let's just order the new route calculation in order to get it to take the driving range from
Okay.
along the way here.
Right.
And it probably takes a couple of minutes, or it might take a couple of minutes. It might go even faster.
Well,
so yeah.
While it's doing that, John, let me ask you a couple questions about it's got me thinking about a couple other things, which is, so I'm going, like, say we're using your route for the example tonight. Let's say that I don't have those areas of the country. So, for example, in the U.S., you were usually talking about counties.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way to say, or is there a way to track, okay, if I put these caches in my list, I'm going to hit these counties, or is that something you're gonna? Okay.
Both, because down here at the bottom you can see the regions, and there is the
There it
region
is.
and the counties.
Okay, cool.
But the most fun of it is is when you use Project GC, like this, and you do the map counties
right
there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, get Norway, since I'm doing my time there. I can do all Norway actually.
Right.
And it's takes just a couple of seconds to load it. And here you can see.
Wow. Yes.
Oh yeah.
My route takes me through all of this.
All those counties.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I've driven this a couple of times, so it's all green. But
green. You got them.
Yeah.
Also, for you, the map, the blue ones are ones you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I use the colors that they have for the color blind. I find that color better. But if I now add this little icon in the middle, you can see which one of those counties I have placed the cache in. So if I want to do this one, I could have clicked inside here and choose it, because I don't have this one. But perhaps this one, this is not in my route, but I want it.
Okay. So you clicked on that county.
I clicked on that county.
Right.
And
it brings up the caches in that county.
Brings up the caches there. And of course, I can take this one and send this one to the trip as well.
Oh, I got you.
Because I don't have this one. Going back here, refresh. As you can see now, it has done the routing for me.
Right.
And now it says, okay, if I started at 8 a.m., I'm going to be by this one, by where I go, at 12:48 approximately.
Right.
That is that is actually quite a nice timing, because it says that if you manage to drive along the speed limits, that is where we are. But I'm not sure if I really want to do this one in daylight. Perhaps I wanted to do this in later on, so I can then start it a little bit later.
Right. Oh yeah. See, that's something also to think about, is that you may have caches along the route that are not available. For example, if it's in a park, and you know that park closes at, like, say it closes at 10 p.m. at night, then and you're planning a long route, you might not want to. I mean, you want to think about not only when you might want to change your start time, or you might want to change the caches you find before you get to that park or after you get to that park, or I mean, so it's, since it's giving you an ETA. I mean, Jesse, help me out here, man. That's something really that makes a big difference, in a trip.
Yeah, absolutely. And I people in the chat room mentioned this too, but what I've done in the past is just use, like, Google Maps and pinned in points, and that gets really old. It's hard, and you can't really share it really well, and it doesn't have half this information. It's not integrated. But like for some upcoming county runs that I know I'm going to be doing after the first of the year,
Right.
some of these other things, I'm definitely going to use this. And Geo Woodstock, that's going to be a long trip for me. So there'll be tons of things I want to get along the way, and the most efficient. I mean, this is going to be great. All the routes, it'll give me times. And so when I tell Christy, I'll be back in 25 hours and it's really 80, I won't have as much of an excuse. So.
Right. She's going to be like, what have you been doing that whole time? Well, sleeping or whatever. So John, something that came up, Carl mentioned in the chat room a while back, and I think it's something that would be good to bring up. And that is something he mentioned was, if you get too many, and this is something we actually talked about before the show started, and that's if you get too many in a route, you might want to do it. Do the what he called sub
trips, yeah.
Sub trips, yeah. So I guess briefly talk, if you would, please, about sub trips. You don't have to go into.
I can go inside the one trip I have going on right now, because
okay, cool. Thanks.
This is a trip I started on Friday, the December 21st, and I now have 6 sub trips for this one.
Okay,
the first one,
just to catch Jesse up real quick, because he lost.
Yeah, I got lost there in the universe for a second.
That's okay. We're starting to talk about sub trips, which I think this is an interesting topic. So go ahead, John.
Yeah. So this is for the first day. I wanted to go from Copenhagen, where I've landed with the airplane,
right,
and down to the ferry I was taking over from Copenhagen, from Denmark over to Germany. So I made one sub trip for this one, and it gives me the route for the start there and to that ferry. And then I have going back to the main trip. I have a new sub trip for December 22nd, which contains 17 caches, and then a sub trip for Sunday, December 23rd, was 36 caches. And by dividing this into sub trips, I get a much more better handling for all of the routing and where to stop and all of that. So
Jesse, so traveling across and getting every state in one trip.
Yeah,
I
want to do it.
I know, but here's the thing too that's cool about it is you can instead of just trying to manage the whole thing in one gigantic list or one gigantic Google something, you can go into Cachetur, create your sub trips, which is each day. Day one, we can travel this far, and we can capture, a decent amount of caches, but
Absolutely.
if you put them into sub trips, you get a really good idea of, okay, we need to get here at this certain time, and now we're ready to go for sub trip number 2. You can plan that part out. So that's really slick.
Well. I wasn't even thinking that. So yes, that the 48 state trip is going to happen.
Right.
So we're going to do that one for sure. But I'll get some practice, and I think a good place for us to practice this, and after the show, because there's tons of stuff to learn on this one. After the show, I think what me and you need to start working on is a trip that starts a day trip down around Geo Woodstock, because we can, if I understand right, you can share this with the public. So what we can do is we'll put together a geocaching day or half day trip of a lot of stuff around there, and then put it out, and anybody wants to join us, we can all meet up, and because it can be public, and then so everybody can kind of go in a big caravan and you can all go caching, right?
Yeah, right. But but still, if you know you have several people you want to travel along with, you can invite them into your trip as well.
Okay.
So that you might okay, I have several groups of people I cache with, and what I used to do is make a trip and then invite the people that are with me for that one, and cachetur also can check for when the people have uh, uh, added themselves to the trip. They can check which one of the caches they already have that is along the route, so that I can
very cool.
stop that to not plan whatever caches the other people already have.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's very cool.
So I don't have to check go into every cache page to check which one of my friends or which one has logged this one. That would already come up on the pages for when I add the caches into cachetur.
Oh
It
wow.
would say
Awesome.
this one is found by, and then I know, okay, if this one is not a very big favorite point or a cache that somebody really needs, okay, we don't do this one, we take another one instead.
So if you were going to do something like what Gary has, Gary, you have this thing you call the Motley Caching Crew. So if you set that up and invited your people, you could set a route of caches just that none of y'all have found.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You can build a route of that, and then so when you go out, you don't even have. I mean, it's already planned.
Yeah, because a lot of my time, well, not a lot, but a portion of my time, every time I plan for the Motley Caching Crew is because we have two guys in our group that retired and they find a ton of caches.
Right.
But if I were to have a route and then they could check it and they could say, okay, your route's good for those 40, but these 5 we've all found. So I could go back and go, okay, well, let me remove those from the list.
So from the chat room, Butterfly Girl said she just used the sub trips for each port on a cruise, which is a great idea. And then she asked, can you add more than 3? So I think she's talking about the sub trips.
Oh yeah, you can. I have 6 sub trips for my trip that I'm out for right now, and I have had 12 and 13 sub trips for longer trips. So that's no limit for that one.
Okay, cool. Hopefully, Valena, is that? I think you were at. Is that what you're asking about? More than 3? Let us know if it wasn't sub trips that you were. She also was asking about. And I've heard people talk about this, and I don't know if this is something, John, that people have talked about or asked about, because I'm not sure if this is something that's very big over there. But there are some people over here that love the Delorme, maps, and people love to fill out the Delorme maps, which is you ever see a Delorme map, John? It's a weird.
No, but I have been heard
of
that.
it. Okay.
Oh yeah, because we have some ambassadors from the
Oh,
states,
okay.
and they tend to talk about the Delorme, and I know they use cachetur as a part of their planning for those challenges. Yeah.
Yeah, some people love to, or that's. It's a different way of doing, instead of instead of doing counties, you're doing Delorme pages, and so it looks kind of weird when you look at a Delorme map for some countries. Some states are really bizarre looking for Delorme maps, but.
So this is you've got a trip planned. You got all this information in there, and I think Butterfly Girl, I think she was the one that mentioned that she prints the pages out. But how do you is there a way to kind of update this as you go, or is there? How do you keep up with it?
I actually use this paper printouts myself, but when I'm out on the trip, because it helps me. But of course we have released an app for it, which is way to go when you have smaller trips. Why I use paper for this one is that I know this trip will not be logged for at least 3 months because I have quite a bad backlog for myself. So I need to write down everything that I need when I log this trip. But I could have used an app for it, that cachetur app. and it will have displayed the ETA. It will have made me check the ETA for every cache, and you could have made it to update from the website if you needed that one. And that is also an app that you can set it that okay, now I will navigate to this cache, and it will open the your preferred navigation app.
Oh
in
yeah,
order
that's right. I saw
get
that.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can have it along the way. Yeah. And you can refresh that one if somebody is using your trip and created it. You can refresh it and get the information. I have been planning trips for others that I have using that technique. I have added caches for the trip, and then they have had to refresh the list, and then they had a new cache to go for in sectors of Norway or something like that, where
okay.
they
Yeah.
are going to. Yeah.
So Butterfly Girl was her comment about more than 3, John, was sharing it. Can you share it with more than 3 people?
Oh yeah, you could share it with as many people as you want, because
Okay.
you can you have the possibility to set a number of people for the trip. If you are doing a car that has 4 seats, you can set the maximum for 4, but you don't have any
Okay.
limits of how many people who can have your trip. No.
Okay, cool. And then Happy Hodag, which I love these. He's got these. I love the GC names of our patrons and listeners. He was asking about a limit on the distance, and I think he's talking about when you're let's say you're planning either
Here to Texas. Yeah, 1,000 miles.
Yeah, all the way across Texas, or let's say all across the U.S. or across Europe. Can you travel? I mean, in theory, could you make one really long trip, or should you not? Should you do it differently than that?
You could do that, but I wouldn't advise you to do, because it will probably take a whole lot of time to calculate the time and or your route. But it is possible to have it.
Right.
You have a limitation for 80 caches or 80 waypoints into to get some automatically sorting them along the route. But even that is taking up a lot of server time to calculate. So if you have a small portion of caches, this one I will do, and you sort them, and then you take the next step and you sort them, you can get all the way across US. That's no problem. But I would prefer to have it set into sub trips, either by states or by counties or by whatever you want to do, because you don't have to do it by days like I do. You can do it by either one part that says, okay, I'm driving from point A to point B, and then you have a new sub trip that says I'm driving from point B to point C, and you can also change the routing in between, so you don't have to do sub trips for each and every one of them.
Oh, okay.
So I can think of a few uses. I just want to throw a couple of things out that I'm going to use, but some big trips, some county runs, maybe a day at a big mega event if you want to have some stuff like that. But also kind of starting my own little group like Gary's got of, hey, I want to go out and spend a few hours caching around my area. Whoever I share it with, they can join up, and then it'll automatically just, in that route, it won't pick ones that they've all done. So it's kind of a neat way to plan that out. We can short and sweet plan out a good group caching trip.
Yeah, and you can also, if you have the possibility to, you can let other people participate in your planning, or you can make them just get the tour the trip that you have made, or you can make them just an observer that they can just see whatever you have planned and not everything else.
That's because you can collaborate with other people in planning the trip.
Yeah, if you know you're going to go to a trip and you know that somebody will actually want to, perhaps they want to do earth caches in between and you don't like them, okay, then they might try to suggest one of them.
I'm not going on
So-
a trip with those people. So
One thing I want to mention before I forget is that Carl has some info for the blog, and I'll put it in the show notes for people that are listening. But the blog is blog.cachetur.no in case you want to go to the blog site and look for um, what all would you say is on that, John, on the blog? It's tips, tricks, kind of things, or
Oh yeah, it's right now he's doing some trips on how to plan his plan a trip with pictures that helps you to see what he's doing. Otherwise, yeah, there are both trips and both tricks to do and features for it. So you can find a lot of info there along with the help center.
oh, very cool. Yeah, and so when one of the things that I think people are going to first thing they want to do after they get started in something that so you've got, let's say you got started, you got kind of a you got some of the basics which we talk about, but we always want to talk about sort of the advanced things you can do. But I want to get into a couple of the advanced things before we finish up tonight, but also there's things we won't be able to get to tonight because there's, well, like you said, John, there's stuff in there that it's pretty incredible, all the things that are in there.
Yeah.
When you, let's say you're, well, any of us are in there and we're like, where's the best two or three things where are the best two or three resources to go to? I mean, you can go to the blog and you can look for things. Um, do you go to the help screens? Is there?
The help screens are more for when you try to do things and you need some information there.
Okay,
We have some.
specific. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
We have some uh,
tutorials
tips to
or
we have some kind of travel tips and country info tips
okay.
for people to do. And if I just switch and share my
Share the, yeah. Go ahead and go back to sharing, and I'll switch back to
yeah
on yours.
I will
No problem.
share my screen and then
Right. Perfect.
there and here we have some public lists
Okay. Right.
during tip here. This is caches that users have suggested. We have geocaches of the week that we know about, virtual
Oh yeah.
webcams along the way,
Very cool.
and we have some different uh, caches that are maintained. The lists are maintained by other users,
Okay.
so you can find trips there. Of course, we have some travel tips and some things you want to do. We also usually just have a nice view of the mega events that are going around because we know people are planning a lot along them. So
Yes.
you can might here find the
Oh, the megas.
mega
Yeah.
events. Yeah,
Oh, very cool.
uh,
Uh,
yeah.
Something that Velena mentioned that she's doing, and it made me think about we needed that. I want to bring this up because I didn't think about this, but she obviously did, which is I'm going to be in the car. I'm going to be in a car for 4 hours.
mm-hmm.
I'm going to stop. I plan to hike for 6 hours. Get back, and then I'm gonna get back in the car and travel for 4 more hours. So can I put that in? Can I make that into a cache tour, John?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You can do
So,
that. You can.
so it
Yeah.
doesn't have to just be car. You can sort of mix and match the different things you're doing.
Yeah, if I'm just try to get back to the
That's great. I hadn't thought about that either, but that's what most of my trips look like.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, right? I mean, that's a
Just,
perfect example of a real world situation. Now, Valena talks about she's doing that as sub trips, but could
you don't
you?
have to do that
Okay,
because
good. See, that's why I'm thinking that's what made me think about asking you about that because so Valena, it sounds like you want to have. I mean, if you want, you could, but you don't have to.
that's this one. Because right here, I'll show you some that
Oh
actually
yeah,
was
Nice.
right here. I drove here until this parking spot where I was supposed to park my car, and then I shifted from driving
car.
to hiking, and then that is when this green comes up.
Oh,
So
wow.
so here I now went from there over to the point where I was supposed to be, over to the earth cache, and then back again to the car. And this one is now labeled in my there as walking leg
Sure.
number 1.
Oh, walking leg. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it was a total distance of 1.2
perfect.
kilometer. Yeah, and that one I knew already. So
And
I
that
can.
one's perfect too because it's an earth cache, and you really don't want to miss an earth cache. Yeah,
So
see,
of course
stop that.
I could also go to my sub trip for this one. Actually, going to do most of it tomorrow because I
Right,
switched days for it. But
right.
here I have walking leg 2 and 3 and 4 because I have
Oh yeah, and then
several
some
things
driving,
there.
some walking.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have 11 walking legs because I'm going to do a couple of multi caches and some letterboxes, and I have some
There
like
you
right here.
go.
I have parts of a multi that I'm going to log,
Right.
and part of a virtual that I have to go in between. So I have planned all of those as well along the
Oh
route,
man,
and
that is
that's
so
why I
cool.
have the green from here because this is where I do the walking.
Right, man. That would be. I would have. I would have missed all that. As far as I'd have just gone, man. I don't know. I'm behind. I don't know what. I don't know what time it is. I don't know what I'm doing. And this way, it's sort of planned out. And so, I mean,
Yeah.
I
obviously,
like that.
now if you were to have something happen where you get to a cache, let's say it's a gadget cache, and you're like, oh, um, it calculates it out as being say an hour. Well, that's quite a bit.
Mhm.
Let's say 30 minutes, and you're there for 3 hours, and now you're like, okay, now my trip is sort of, I mean, I had fun, and I solved the gadget cache, but now my 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 tour is kind of messed up. Is that how is it that can you tweak it in such a way that you get the rest of your trip sort of recalculated, or does it do that for you somehow? Or
If I use the app, yeah, it will recalculate the ETA for me. The
Wow.
website, it won't do because I have to go inside and do it
okay,
right away. But since I'm not online when I'm out in
right.
on my
But if you
trip,
had,
it's not. Yeah.
yeah, but if you had internet access, John, let's say you were nearby somewhere and you had your computer and you had some access to internet and you wanted to try, like, could you go in and
Oh yeah.
tell it? Okay,
I could have just gone inside one of my like this one. If I say okay, this one I will be later than 11:36, which I know now the I have 10 minutes to go drive to it, and it's
right,
still 1300 or 1 p.m. now. So
right.
okay, I can go inside and
Oh,
say
yeah, you pull
ETA
it,
override.
There you go.
Yeah,
pull it up right there.
yeah.
You could tweak that. Just
Then I
you
can
could
tweak
tweak
that
that
one.
one. Yeah,
Can I say 13:10? And I have to just refresh because
right. It's got to
the
recalculate.
browser. Yeah,
Right.
then it's this one. This ones here have just the clock here saying this one is calculated.
Okay,
But
gotcha.
the digital watch here, the 2 zeros, that is digital beyond
Sure.
here says this is an ETA I have set, and then it calculates all the other ones afterwards.
Right.
It adjusts everything. That's cool.
Trip. Wow, that is
And
awesome.
it will then just give me, okay, here I have switched over to a new day, because this one is yellow, because I now go from one date to the next one. I passes midnight.
Oh, yeah. So it in a sense you can kind of know, okay, I'm gonna cache past midnight,
Yeah.
but I want to kind of know where I'm at, and that way you can kind of determine. You're like Jesse. You're just you forget what time it is. You're just gonna
Well, you go and it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. You stop, sleep, and then you start going again.
You just start going again. That's right. Sleep. What's sleep? Why nobody sleeping's for wimps. No, I'm kidding. That's great.
So yeah, you can do some of it, but then again, you need to have the internet access and a computer, because it's not really nice to do that one on a cell phone.
Oh, sure. No, it makes sense. But I mean, depending on, like if you're doing several days, you stop at a hotel and you're like, okay, I need to tweak.
Yeah.
We got behind or we're ahead. We want to tweak it a little bit.
Or you can tweak that one at the hotel, and then if you uses the app for it, you can just refresh your trips, and then you have the new one the day after.
Okay. So there is an app is it for both Android and iOS?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
We have both for the both systems. So
okay.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Right. That way, if you don't want to print anything out, you can kind of go on a computer, set up your trip, and then you can pull it up on your app, and you can use your app. On the app, John, as you went along and you're like, can you check stuff off in a sense off your list?
Yeah. Okay. You can mark when you have arrived before you start to look for a cache. You can mark when you have returned to your car afterwards, and then that will adjust the ETA live for you if you use that one. But
very cool.
Use it when you have to, because sometimes you have an event you have to go to as well, so you have to when you get close to the event time, you have to see, okay, how far am I, what can I skip, what is it that I need to do before reaching that event. So it's doable for that one as well.
Right. Wow, man, that's awesome. Well, there's a lot of good stuff. Jesse,
I can't wait to start playing with this thing. I think I'm going to build one tomorrow. We have an event early in the morning, and the wife and I are going caching afterwards because we're both off tomorrow. So I'm going to build one and play with it. I got the app too. So
yeah. So for the event, John, that's a good example of, like, that. Well, let's say you're like, okay, I'm going to go to the event, and the event's not that long. Let's say the event's an hour long, and I'm going to stay there for the whole thing. You could go ahead and tell it event, 60 minutes, and you can kind of, or I'm going to go to this event. I'm only going to pop in for 20 minutes. I can change it. I can just tell it event 20 minutes, and I can move on. So
yeah, you can change how long you're going to stay there, but actually, cachetur.no does have the events and gives you the right time for the whole event.
It's tied into the API.
Yeah, because every time somebody adds an event into one existing trips, or if there are events coming out in a few of the countries that we know of, usually have, we get to add the times for it. So that if I just once more go back to my
that's awesome. So if the event is a flash mob, you'll know how long it is going to be for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if just get it up here. If I can show now for this one, it says right here that this event was from midnight till 1 a.m.
Oh, okay.
It says here because
Right.
this one is got the information from our database.
Right.
And if we go into the event overview, which actually I have for Norway, you can see here every event
has
is
all the
said,
events.
and it has the time for each event. So if I say it, I will attend this one, add this one into one of my trips, it will come up with 30 minutes, and it will state in my trip that it's from 8 p.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Wow.
So all of that will come into your trip, and it will calculate as if you were there all the time.
Right.
So if you plan on just stop by, you can adjust the time, but you don't have to think about it if you do not.
If you don't want to do that.
Don't want to do it. No.
Yeah. So yeah, it's funny. So Dig or DIG Family Geocaching in the chat room says that he checking out the website. He just made an account. He's gonna check out the app out next. So that's good. That was the mission accomplished, John. We were trying to get people to learn more about Cache Tour, and I know Stacy had some trouble, and we were kind of helping her in the chat room. But I think that one of the key things, and I think something that people need to maybe not let that not is just getting started. And I think that for some people, they get hung up a little bit on you need the snap in, right? You need what's the monkey called? The
temper monkey. That is
you need temper monkey. You want to do that first. Really, that's you could create an account. Would you say create an account? Link it to geocaching.com. Get temper monkey.
Yeah. If you don't have it, then the cachetur assistant, and then you have the most powerful tool for planning as you go along. Yeah.
Because the cachetur assistant is going to get the link so that when you go into look at those, when you go into geocaching.com and you look at those, that page, you have the little 2 feet. Will be there. Yeah. So as we start to wrap up tonight, let me start. I'll start, and then I'll go to Jesse, and then John, if you would kind of maybe get some final thoughts for tonight. But mine is that, this is something that can be used in so many different ways. I think that even I haven't thought of all the ways, but I know that, like Jesse mentioned, our little Motley caching crew that goes out once in a while. I tend to sort of do the planning for that, and I'm getting to a point now where I need to kind of step it up a little bit, because we've done some of the areas and now we're like, okay, I need to keep because we had a great one recently, but I need something like a tool like this to help me kind of do some of that planning. So I think once you get past those initial once you get past the setup, I think it really does become easier in the sense that, set up a quick tour. Like if you're just going out for the day, even just something like that, just to get used to using the app, is to plan to go find 4 caches or something with it and see how it goes, and give that once you get used to it, and you can do 4 caches in a certain amount of time, and you get the process down. I think then, John, I think that's something that, it seems like that's something that people will start to really kind of get into it and start to really use it I think at first they look at the whole thing and it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much here. It's too much to handle. And it's like, you don't need that. Just start slow and just get your links and get started. That's what I would say. So I'll let Jesse go next.
Well, like I just said in the chat room, it sounds like the CFO has got some learning to do because she's really our trip planner. I'm a terrible, terrible trip planner. I'm a very, fly by the seat of your pants, make it up on the fly kind of person. But she's very good about planning and doing that kind of stuff. So hopefully she and I can sit down together and learn this and learn the app, and we can play. And so, because we like to, we love to do trips, and one of our big goals for 2019 is to get out and do at least once a month our geo dates again. And that's me and her, going out and doing that. That'll help us really get this planning, these routes along the way.
Right.
Because they're spontaneous, but we also we always like to end up at a diner, and we like to end up, just getting random caches wherever we're going. But this will be a fun way to kind of play with those and really get good with these for trips.
Yep. Awesome. So John, what are some final thoughts for tonight? I know there's so much, but
go ahead. Like you said, it's just to start using it and try to do not change the way you are traveling or you are caching because of the website. You do the way you want to do it, and you just use cachetur.no as a way to improve your own method. Because I know whenever I speak to people about how I plan my trip, they always do it on several on other ways to do it. So there are so much more into it that might be done, but you don't have to do it. You can just use it just the way you like it for yourself. Because of course we haven't even touched into how to make corrected coordinates, which is one of the possibilities. The unknown caches, and field puzzles or the steps for multi caches, and how to answer earth caches, and all of that is possible to do as well. And whenever you are trying to do something and you get stuck with the planning, and you have some error or some question, please use our help center. Either check if there are something there, or if it's not there, please ask us. We have help on. I will show that one as one of the last steps here, because we have the possibility to ask for help in our wait a minute.
That's right.
You can either contact Cachetur, and you can get your support cases there. And there are people, then I'll say less than 1 day, because it's the holiday season, but usually we can get down to 10 minutes before we can answer in the best cases. And sometimes we are a bit more back on track, because we are out caching as well, because we are caches, all of us that are doing this. But we are there for help for every reason there is. So just contact us. We'll get, if you can't fix it right away, if it is something we can't do, or that is impossible, we'll let you know, because that is what we try to do. And sometimes you might have to open up for secondhand support, so that one of us can go inside, see what's happening on your trip, and then help you to see what the problem might be, because we might be able to work out a whole lot of solutions for you. But try it out, use it for whatever you caching purpose you have right now, and then just expand after that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Now, Carl was mentioning in the chat room, he says, if you get stuck or get problems using the site, never hesitate to click, like you were mentioning, John. Send a message, and there he says we're close to 24/7, 365 support. That's like you were mentioning. That's incredible. And so it's been great. So, John, we're so thankful that you stayed up late, got up early. No, you stayed up late. I know you stayed up late. You know, people maybe not realize because they're either watching it later or they're watching it in the U.S. or it's it's only 9 o'clock here, but over there it's what time is it right now, John? Over there in Germany,
4:20 a.m.
4:20 a.m. Now that's dedication. Love it. So we're very grateful that you came on this morning, John, to be on, and thanks for the people, in the chat room, and for old CJ Hove.no, Carl. I think you were saying is his name Carl? Yeah. So thank you so much for being on that early in the morning. So that's awesome. So thanks everybody for that. And thank you, John. So, all right. So as Jesse mentioned, we'll talk about more of this cache tour as time goes on. Obviously, but we want people to get an account, just start small, and if you need help, we know how to get help now.
Yeah, start now, get good at it, and we'll have a really good advanced show coming up in a few months from now where everybody's kind of aware of it. They got their accounts. They've been building tours. They've been playing with it. And we'll get into the real deep stuff coming up. Yeah,
we'll get into the next time. So, all right. So as we mentioned, there will be no live show next week on 12:30. We're going to take a break. Only break we're going to take this year, folks. We're going to keep going after that. So the week after that, on January 6th, we are going to talk about the quality geocaches, the survey. I've got all the questions, Jesse, so don't look at the notes ahead of time because I got them all in the notes. No. And then the show after that on January 13th, we've got Cachely back. Nick is coming back for Cachely 5.0, which hasn't been out yet. So hopefully, we're trying to get it. So I tried to find the right date. So hopefully, it'll be out perfectly in time.
There we go.
Of course, yeah. And as we talk about each time, if you're not an iOS user, don't worry about it. Please join the show anyway, because a lot of the things we talk about, or many of the things we talk about on the show, translate into using some other app or using the geocaching app. There's some of that. Obviously, if you're an iOS user, you're using Cachely, right?
Right.
If you're an Apple user, you need to get Cachely. Why would you use the regular app if you don't have to? Oh my gosh! And then I guess in 4 weeks from now, for show 133, January 20th, this will be fascinating. We're going to talk about benchmarks, but we're going to talk about benchmarks with an expert, somebody who understands all the different things about benchmarks. All the different types, and so it's not your standard. Here's how you find benchmarks on an app somewhere, and you go find a benchmark and log it. That's not what this is about. This is, do you want to find the certain types of benchmarks? Do you want to find the ones that are of certain age, and what do you look for? And we're going to get into all the details, the cool details about benchmarks in the US. This might focus on, or you might get some information for other parts of the world. The Trig ones up in Canada and different things. But I think it'll be fascinating. Even if
that's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, so that's one on January 20th. So all right, well, we hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Email us your comments at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us. Geocache Talk on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook is facebook.com/Geocache Talk. Show can be found audio-wise on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, any of those sites. You can also get a link to it from Geocache Talk website, which is geocachetalk.com. Don't forget to follow us here on YouTube. Click on the subscribe button, ring the bell, so that you can see and hear the show on a weekly basis. Tell your friends about the show and get them involved. especially with our chat room. We have a lot of great people, a lot of great cachers in the chat room interacting together. Jesse follows it, the chat room during the show. I try to follow too, some, but we've got a lot of good interaction, a lot of good questions tonight from folks. So we appreciate that, especially some of you that have used it, like Valena, and people that are asking questions that have never used it are going to start using it. We had a lot of great questions from them as well. So until next week, or until the next 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, don't just talk about geocaching. Go log into cachetur.no and get started planning a trip to go geocaching. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.